medical person on our World Community Service Committee, I took over the project. And that led to, oops, what's going on here? That led to a dengue prevention and community education program in Guatemala back in 2005, 2006. And you can see some of the things that we did: radio ads, community education, information to help people try to reduce their exposure to dengue and reduce transmission of the virus. But it started back with a pediatrician who was seeing patients with dengue, whose daughter was infected, thought, I wonder if there's a relationship here between Rotary, and that led to the relationship. Well, that led then to the next year. We did a trip out there. Many of you will remember Joe, the late Joe, my good friend, Joe Looper. Joe and I visited Guam in 2006, got to see the folks in action on the dengue program and see some of the big needs in the community. That then led to a trip in 2007, where we brought a whole bunch of youth, several Rotarians and I brought many youth with us, and our young interactors, along with the interactors in Golan, we worked together to build a house. It was a Habitat for Humanity house that we built for this family here. You can see that was Neka and her son Victor, a woman and her young son. We built a house, a Habitat for Humanity house for her and her family. That was the first key trip for the group, along with Susie Ewing and Betsy and Chuck. Anyways, it was one of these great trips. That led then, that same year, we also did a project working with the Fort Collins Breakfast Club, which Patrick was a member at the time, where we helped equip the community lab, and we continue to support the dengue education project. We went back in 2008. In 2008, we brought another group of youth, but this time we got to go back to the house we built in 2007. That was Neka, the mother whose home we built for her in 2007. The next year when we went back, she hosted us for a barbecue and a real party at her place in the house that we built the year prior. That was a really special night. We also had a project that year with Zacapa, in a little town called Zacapa, for a deaf children's school. So this was a school for kids who are deaf and often dumb, and we helped build a computer lab with the computer and the specialized software to help these people with their educational needs. And you can see, some of the youth working with the kids, and it was spearheaded because we had this Rotary couple here. I can see on my bottom right, two Rotarians from that area, from Chiquimula. Their son was deaf, and he has been part of the school. And we put together this project to equip the school with a complete laboratory and the air conditioning unit, so that these students could learn, these deaf and dumb students could learn with the specialized software and the computers. Now, I put up this financing plan just to illustrate what so many of these Rotary projects are all about. So the Rotary Club of Chiquimula, which is a local club, was able to put up $300. The District of Guatemala, Honduras, District 4250, was able to put up $500. Our club put in $1,700. The Rotary Club of Cheyenne put in $1,700. Then we had our district match our contribution for another $3,400 and got the Rotary Foundation to put in $5,700. So we now had a $13,000 project to equip this school with the computers and the software for these deaf kids. And you can appreciate the multiplier effect here. For $300 at the local level, we collectively were able to accomplish a $13,000 project. Something the school could not have done, the local Rotary Club could not have done, but collectively, with the leveraging, we were able to accomplish. And that really is the pattern and the magic of Rotary. 2008, 2009, we helped Gualan, the city of Gualan, with improvements to their water treatment plants. We did a youth AIDS and pregnancy prevention educational program. And we also extended the dengue prevention program to another community, Chiquimula. So we replicated what we did in Golan, in Chiquimula, and we used our various Rotary funds to do a youth AIDS pregnancy prevention, as well as a water treatment plant improvement in Golan. Each one of these is a separate project with multiple levels of contribution from different groups. In 2008, we had a big year. We worked on the Sabana Grande school. I'll tell you about that. We worked on the Ipala Health Clinic, Los Limones School, and then the Senior Citizens Daycare Center in Golan. So if we start first with the Sabana Grande school. So this is a school in a little town called Sabana Grande that had no computer facilities whatsoever. We put together a grant that allowed us, where we worked with the Rotary Club at Chiquimula, along with the Foothills Club and the Rotary Clubs of Fort Collins and Mountain View, to fund a computer lab for the kids. So these kids had no access to computers, no access to the internet. We were able to fund this program using locally supplied equipment so that they had a computer lab. And one of the really nice things about this particular project is that they used it for the kids during the day, during the school day, and then they offered evening classes at night for the community, for the adult community, for the whole area. So we had a shared resource between the kids and the adults learning to become more computer literate and get onto the internet. And then in Golan, the Centro Ancianos, it's a center for older people. I've got pictures here. This is a center that was set up by the wife of the mayor of Golan. There were 200 or 300 older people in the community who would come and spend their days at this center. And there they would have arts and crafts. They would have a nurse come by once a week for health. They would do what we call exercise classes. But they were really ill-equipped to feed these people. These people would come there depending on having a nice midday meal. So we ran a project whereby we equipped this kitchen, and unfortunately, I don't have pictures of it, with a real fridge, a real stove, the real equipment that they needed to feed these people. And it just became that much more functional to be able to do a good job of offering these people some meals. Now, the interesting thing about this particular project is that once this kitchen was equipped, they were now able to do more than had been planned. The next year, there was a horrendous hurricane that hit the area, rendered thousands of people homeless. And this little kitchen that we'd equipped here became the center for producing meals for these displaced homeless people. So Los Limones, 500 meals. Cienega, 300 meals. Poli, 299 meals. So this little project that was originally set up to make it easier, better, more efficient, to do a good job of satisfying the needs of these older people who come in on a daily basis, became then kind of a center of rescue, in a sense, to prepare meals for people who'd been rendered homeless because of this hurricane. So it was just an interesting and gratifying use of a facility that we helped put together. Los Limones is a school. Los Limones literally means the lemons. It's an old lemon orchard outside of the city of Golan, where a whole bunch of people started to move into. And they were using for a school this old abandoned farmhouse. So imagine this little farmhouse serving as a school for 150 people. You can see in this picture on the right, my friend Edwin Oliva, the pediatrician, in the classroom. That's what they were using for a classroom for several years. We worked with the municipality. They were willing to fund building a new school. We put together a service project to come and paint it and repair all the desks. So we came in 2008 with a whole group of youth who painted and worked with the local youth to repair the desks and get the school ready. And you can see here that now we have a functional school with a whole bunch of kids, much different environment. And that became, the source of a major grand opening. Now, the last time I was there, this school is now twice or three times as large. It's two-story because the community has grown so much. But to have gone from a small little, basically an old farmhouse, to this school was a major step. And of course, it's gone beyond that since then. Now, that nice school that you see right there, this is what they had for a bathroom. So it's a couple of holes in the ground and a shed. So we put together a project to change that. The municipality was willing to offer the manpower, and through a Rotary grant, we bought all the materials to build a new bathroom facility for this school. And that's what this looks like in the end. They now have toilets and clean running water with a water filtration system. Again, another Rotary project where we were able to make a big difference for not a whole bunch of money, but cooperate with the municipality and Rotary groups and individuals who are willing to support this. This theme comes up over and over again. The Ipala Clinic is Ipala is a remote community about 50 or 60 minutes away from the nearest real hospital. And they had a clinic there that had one or two physicians, a couple of nurses, but absolutely zero equipment. So women in the area, when it was time for them to give birth, had to either give birth at home or else travel an hour to get to, and an hour on rough roads. So a project was put together by the Rotary Club of Chiquibula, along with the Rotary Club of Craig and Fort Collins and the Rotary Foundation, to equip the polyclinic with the equipment that they needed to provide birth care for women who were giving birth. And you can see, that's a little patch on a relatively newborn in the polyclinic. In 2010, there was a huge hurricane in the area. So I think all of you are aware of the Rotary Shelter Box program. And so when we got there, we saw incredible devastation, and we were able to be part of the teams who were putting up shelter boxes for these families to provide temporary housing while things got reestablished. You can see a young family here who lost their home in a shelter box that we were able to put up while we were on this trip. So I'm speaking. If anybody has questions or comments while I'm going through, please. Let's make this interactive if we can. No? Okay. In 2010, 2011, we organized a really large project. It was multi-district, multi-club, to replicate the dengue education project across multiple communities with the resources of multiple clubs in multiple districts. So you can see we implicated 6 clubs in Guatemala, who got contributions from half a dozen clubs outside of Guatemala, primarily from Canada and the US, and 3 different districts. And we implemented this big education and community sanitation program that included insecticide impregnated curtains. So those of you who've ever worked on a malaria project recognize the importance of insecticide impregnated curtains in protecting people from malaria. The same principle applies with dengue. And I'll just show you a few pictures from Golan where we were putting up these mosquito nets. There's our friend Edwin Oliva, the pediatrician, and people are putting up nets and education programs with, one-on-one education and help. Hopefully, people can to reduce their risk of contracting dengue. These are projects with which I'm a little bit less familiar. In 2015, Los Lorenzo, people really have no access to good clean water, built a water catchment tank. You can see pictures of this here, a huge water catchment tank. There as it is completed, but the most important aspect here is that people in their residences have now had access to clean water on demand instead of depending on rainwater and whatever they could catch. Another small community, Las Lomas, 200 latrines built in a small community. This is led by the Rotary Club of Burlington, Ontario. However, many clubs, including the Rotary Club of Fort Collins, played a pivotal role in helping to finance this so people had latrines, more sanitation. This is a large project working with the Rotary Club of Chiquimula called Healthy Schools. So it was a multi-project where they had different aspects they wanted to look after. In this first one, they wanted to look after clean stoves in the kitchens of some of these schools. So you're probably aware that indoor combustion is a major cause of pulmonary disease in people who depend on wood smoke, on burning wood to cook their food. So part of this project was installing clean cook stoves in 4 schools in Guatemala. And we can see here in the photo middle right on my screen, when I'm looking at the screen, the clean burning stove, as opposed to the top right, where you've got these conventional stoves that produce all kinds of combustible fumes that can be quite dangerous. Part of this project was also similar to Los Limones. Here's a school in La Catocha where there's no bathroom, so the kids were all using the hillside behind the school, or going to the bathroom before they got to school and hoping they didn't have to go to the bathroom again until they got home from school. And that's the reality. So here, this project installed a bathroom and a sink, just like Los Limones. You've got a couple of bathrooms and a sink, so people can go to the bathroom normally and have access to clean water for drinking and washing. This is another school in the area where they had, the school is basically built up against a hillside. The water from the hillside was seeping into the school, causing all kinds of mold issues. So that a retention wall was built behind the school to make sure that we don't have that kind of a problem. And they installed a new cook stove. So it's all little things that can make a big difference. It's stuff that all of us take for granted, but it's such a big deal. These people are living in conditions that just are not healthy, and it's such a simple fix, but they don't have the means to do those simple fixes. And finally, as part of this whole project, again with the Rotary Club of Chiquimula, a local university had a medical lab, but poorly equipped. So this grant helped equip the lab with the basic equipment to do some basic medical services for the local community. In 2018, there was also a microfinancing and business development effort that was put in place. So they targeted 75 women with small businesses to help them increase profits and pull their families out of poverty. It was a 2-cycle program. In the first cycle, there's 47 women who received microloans. You can see for yourself the kinds of results that were reported. Then there was a second cycle where another 28 women received microloans. And it's all, I mean, this is a program that Rotary's been involved with in many parts of the world, microloans to help people improve their business performance, become more self-sufficient, and get themselves out of poverty. More programs from 2008. There's one for local schools called Ecofiltro. So this is one where to get good, clean drinking water at the school level, they were able to purchase local technology to clean the local water supply so that kids could drink clean water at school. Again, we take this for granted, but we can't take it for granted in Guatemala and Honduras and El Salvador and many places where they just aren't as fortunate as we are. And another water sanitation station in El Jute, which is the Burlington was a sponsor there, Burlington, Ontario, with Chiquimula working with that, as well as money from Fort Collins and other local clubs. Again, a water supply project for the community and just for health and hygiene. This most recent one, I'm not sure what the status is right now, but in 2020, I'll let this. So I'm not sure if you could hear that, but the point here was here's a project where you've got water being collected in an open pit. Want to convert that into more sanitary water supply with these catchment tanks, and you can see here how many Rotary clubs have contributed small amounts, but the cumulative sum of all these small amounts makes for all of a sudden you've got a $90,000 project, something that the local club could never have afforded, the local community could have never afforded. But with the collective effort and the leveraging through Rotary, we get all of a sudden really important projects that can be done that cost each club relatively little, yet deliver big results at the community level. So I don't think I'm telling anyone anything they don't already know. So when I look at the Guatemala stuff, I've only shown you a snippet of some of the projects because there are many more, but you can see where so many of these different projects have affected different areas in the community. And it have involved so many different Rotary clubs, the Breakfast Club, the Foothills Club, Cheyenne, North Platte, Craig, and the Canadian clubs, Fergus, Bolton, Burlington, Ontario. And then multiple districts, at least our districts, 5440, 4250, it just goes on. And the multiple Rotary clubs in Guatemala have coalesced to work together on multiple projects. We've been able to involve Interact and Rotaract and Rotary International to help make things possible where we can work collectively to really leverage local initiative effort with external resources to multiply what otherwise would not happen and probably could not happen. There's no way the Rotary Club of Chiquimula could put together a $15,000 computer project. They can put $300 or $500, and the rest of us can contribute in our small way, and all of a sudden becomes a $13,000 or $15,000 project. And I'd like to end by saying that none of it would have happened without a mosquito and a virus and a pediatrician and his daughter got sick, because it's all about relationships. It's about establishing connections, about establishing trust, about establishing, love, I guess is what it is. You want to help these people, you get to know them. They mean something to you. You want to be involved in helping in any way you can. And when you see how much our effort can multiply their effort, it just makes it such a rewarding experience, and something that it's just special. So I'll leave it at that. You just never know how things will happen in life. Like I said, if it hadn't been for a pediatrician who was looking at dengue cases in his practice, whose daughter got dengue, who decided to look after Rotary and dengue, started a relationship with the Rotary Club of Fort Collins, and multiplied to multiple Rotary clubs, especially in the Front Range, and multiple Rotary clubs in Guatemala to become multiple projects, then you see the effort or the effective multiplication and leveraging. And I think that's what Rotary is all about. That's what being a human is all about. So that's it.
Okay, I think if anyone has any questions, now would be the time. I think I'll start. I'm sure you have like a lifetime of stories to tell about the people there and all of the things you've done, but I was wondering if you've kept in touch with all the people you connected down there with, and if you had any stories about that.
I wouldn't say I haven't kept in touch with all of them, but I've kept in touch with several of them. Like Edwin, I still keep in touch with quite a bit. Many of the others, it's more through Facebook and stuff, and just the odd contact. But Edwin and I speak and do Zoom calls quite frequently. I know the kids I've brought with me to Guatemala established the social media contacts for the kids that they met down there, and they still have contacts. So yes, not as much as maybe we'd all like, but yes.
Claude, I have a question. This is Lisa. How do you choose, like you had a list of clubs like Burlington North, Fergus, I saw some other names. How do you get these different clubs together to do this project? Is there a call out or?
Yeah, it's more just personal connections where you know somebody who's met somebody who's met somebody and you reach out. So I wouldn't say there's any fixed method. It's just getting to know people and rubbing shoulders and you know, pretty soon there's an affinity. So I know there's a club in Ontario that does an awful lot of work in Guatemala, and you just become friends. You know, just paths cross. I wouldn't say there's any specific way, except, you know, like at district conventions and at Rotary Club meetings, you talk to other folks who are involved in rural community service, and you say, we've got this really cool project with this really reputable and really great performing Rotary Club, like in Rotary Club of Guatemala and Chiquimula. We'd like you guys to get involved. So can we count on you for $1,000 as an example? And it kind of starts that way. And the other thing is, I would say the Rotary Club of Fort Collins is one of the real leaders in rural community service activities. We had a really active program as well as the Foothills Club, or the Breakfast Club, sorry. And so we had other clubs who wanted to do something in rural community service, but didn't have a footprint, and they would kind of piggyback with us. So it's a bit of that going on as well. You know, Patrick and Martin, maybe you've got some thoughts you want to share on that.
First of all, this compendium of stories about Guatemala that link to one club and then shows the multiplier. I've never seen anything quite as compelling, and hats off to you, Claude, for the presentation. The answer, I think it takes the spark plug, and the spark plug, you were the spark plug. We have other spark plugs in our club now, and I'll mention a couple. Robin Steele, John Trone, people that are going to the special effort to try to make the world a better place through Rotary. And so I salute you for this presentation.
Well, thanks, Martin. That's very kind.
So do I, Claude.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Lisa again. What was the most challenging? I know that there's a lot of projects. What was the most, across all of them, the most challenging aspect?
Oh boy, so I have to say sometimes, and that evolved over time, but towards the Rotary changed the way they were doing their grants. So I would say the most challenging became, in some ways, the bureaucracy of Rotary. It used to be, and I haven't been close to these grants for a while. It used to be that we could put together a $15,000 or $20,000 grant really quite easily, where we'd have multiple clubs, a couple of districts, and Rotary International contribute. And then Rotary International changed what they wanted to participate in, and they wanted bigger projects because, you know, they have a certain amount, limited amount of administrative overhead across the whole of Rotary, and to separate that across multiple small projects became more of a challenge. So we're kind of forced to go into bigger projects, which required more clubs and more districts to get involved to get Rotary International money. And that became, I would say, Lisa, that became the biggest challenge. I remember that was one of my bones, that it was so much fun to do a $15,000 project because it made a big difference at the local level. And now we have to do a $100,000 project. That's a lot more work. So I would say that was the biggest challenge. But then, you know, you're still making a difference. And so I would say it's more than anything, it's administrative. Once you find that network of really good Rotary clubs like Guatemalans, Chiquimula, as examples in Guatemala, and Rotary Club of Fort Collins, and the Breakfast Club, and Cheyenne, and others, that part is, once you get that network set up, that's pretty easy. And then it's just become administrative. So I remember people would say to me, oh yeah, he's just a really good grant writer. He's really good at writing grants to go get the money from Rotary. Well, yeah, that's because I had the network of folks that we could put programs together. So I would say that was the biggest challenge for me, was sometimes getting through the bureaucracy. However, the bureaucracy is a good thing, because in Rotary, the dollar that you give to a project goes to the project. It's not like you give $1 to Rotary and 65 cents goes to the project. $1 goes to the project. And that's all part of the bureaucracy of ensuring that there's a separate bank account for that project. So the money that goes from us, let's say Rotary Club of Fort Collins, to Rotary International, to the project, all goes to that bank account and it's fully accounted for. So you just have to just lick your chops and say, okay, the administrative burden is worth it. And that's how you have to look at it.
And was getting the materials ever an issue? Because a lot of the projects were in very rural areas. So bringing in the construction materials, everything else involved.
No, you depend entirely on the local folks to do that. That's the Rotary Club in Guatemala or Chiquimula. The local logistics, that's all on them. So I never worried about that. That was part of their deal.
So,
Was the language ever a barrier? The language difference?
Speaking of Spanish, I could get by for my project. So it's a matter of having a little bit of help on that front. But you know, my Spanish is good enough that I could write and read and speak. And I can't speak for some of the other projects. But even the local Rotarians, like my friend Edwin, you know, all of his he did a residency in the U.S. So there's Rotarians in all these clubs who speak enough English, so you can get it done easily. You just can get it done. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I have a bunch of questions.
Keep going, Lisa.
Okay, as a veterinarian, did you ever have occasion or more than one occasions to use your veterinary skills when people found out, if they did find out you were veterinarians? Were you brought sick animals?
No, in none of my projects was that ever the case. No, and their view of animal care is not quite what ours is up here.
Right.
So no, I probably wouldn't have been asked. No, I never had that issue at all.
Okay, and then my last question, and to let other people talk. You know, the relationships, I'm sure, was the most rewarding. You know, building the relationships, meeting the people, seeing, you know, the impact that you made on the people in the community. Other than that, what was most rewarding?
Well, for me, what was really rewarding was bringing the youth down on these trips, because we did 4 or 5 trips, and each trip we brought down 7 or 8 kids with us who were 14 to 17 thereabouts, and it was really fun to see them interact with the youth, the interactors, the young Rotary interact in Guatemala, for example, and despite no ability to really speak to each other, or very little, the friendships they formed in the Facebook and social media content, you know, that they formed, that was really rewarding to see. And then to help these kids see just how fortunate they are.
Yes.
So I always think about this, you know, we get off at the airport in Guatemala City. The Rotarians meet us, and we've got basically a bus or something like that waiting for us to bring us back. And on the way out of the airport, we stop at what's the equivalent of a 7-Eleven or, you know, a convenience store. Go in there, there's an armed guard. I mean, these kids, well, maybe that's not the case in the U.S. anymore. They're surprised to see an armed guard. And they're taking pictures of themselves with an armed guard. I mean, that just something that opened their eyes wide open. We get to our hotel and go on, and there's an armed guard that, you know, that guards the hotel before they get into their hotel room. And then just the little subtleties of things that we take for granted, like hot water for a shower anytime you want. That's not the case there, or at least it wasn't then. So you see these kids coming back really appreciating what they take for granted, what all of us take for granted, you know, like a flush toilet, you know, a hot shower, all these things that we just think is normal. And for a lot of the people in the world, it's not the case. And so to me, one of the really gratifying things, Lisa, was to see, just to watch the kids, and like these 13 or 14 to 16-year-olds come back and say it was a life-changing experience. I can't believe how lucky I was. But also, you know, how happy they were to be able to pitch in and hopefully make a difference. That's what really sticks with me.
Yeah, and I empathize with that. When my son was like 12 years old, I had an occasion to take him to China. We went to Beijing, and I made it a point to take him into the slum areas of Beijing where, you know, where it was fairly safe. And to this day, he remembers, I mean, these people were living in cardboard boxes right next to each other. And that made a huge impression on him as a child growing up, of how fortunate he is.
Yeah. I'd agree. It's a huge thing. Yeah.
Well, I will keep going. How likely would those projects be today with COVID?
Oh, well, I'm not sure because it's all local. What we do with or without COVID, it doesn't matter. Like, and what I mean by that is that what we, as in the Rotary clubs in Colorado or Canada and Rotary International, is administrative. It's paperwork. It's saying, here's a good project. It's all about execution at that level. So if there's a COVID effect on execution, that could be a factor. But in terms of enabling those projects, provided they can execute at their end, I don't see a COVID effect. Now, you know, Martin, Patrick, Lee, maybe you've got some other inputs on that for more recently. I can see where it might be hard to get some of these projects going, but at least getting the financial support to do a project shouldn't be affected. It's all about our network here, and it's all around computers and telephones and Zoom calls about, we've got this project here. So, you know, I don't think that has an effect other than execution on the ground. So probably there's been some delays there.
Well,
Quick comment. Is John Trone? Are you on the call? John Trone is our club president this year. I think he's still on the Zoom call. And our past president, Dr. Lee, are you there?
I'm there. I guess I'd like to make this statement.
I'm there.
It's truly wonderful, all the things that's been done just on the level that John talked about. But, you know, there's a lot of secondary things that sort of fell into place. I was thrilled tonight to hear that Claude's daughter, Dominique, is now a practicing pediatrician. And I'm a retired OBGYN guy, and we were asked to, my wife Carla and I were asked to support Dominique and a group of her students from, I'm blanking out on where, but in Canada.
Mount Allison.
Mount Allison. And it was a great experience for us, and I think a good experience for the kids that accompanied her. And this was just a sort of a secondary thing, not just what our club did and these specific products, but it flows over into the lives of those other kids. And those kids were fabulous. And I hope that we did something that was able to let them learn a little bit of what it is to use medicine to help others in underserved countries. And it thrills me to know that Dominique is now a pediatrician and how.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Thank you.
And tell her hi.
Okay, I will be. She'll be thrilled. She'll be thrilled.
Did you have any issues with the government? Like in America, if something is built, like a school, there's specifications and code regulations out the wazoo that, you know, contractors have to follow, and, you know, occupancy.
We left that complete to the locals. So, like, for example, the school, Los Limones School, the mayor looked after getting this place built. So the municipality So we never worried about those kinds of things. They looked after that. We might have provided money for materials, but in terms of zoning and all that kind of stuff, we just, no, it wasn't part of the picture at all for us. Like when we built these Habitat for Humanity homes, we had the local Rotary Club look after getting the lot. Then we worked with Habitat for Humanity, and we paid Habitat for Humanity to build the house. But then we set up the project such that like these little houses that I showed in my slides take 3 weeks to build. It's a cement slab, it's cindercrete blocks, and a tin roof. That's all it is, with water running and possibility of electricity. But we set it up so that when we would come in there, there's about a week left until the build was finished, and we would all work on finishing the build. So we let the locals, the Rotary Club and the locals, to look after the logistics, and then we could come in and participate. So it's a really a cooperative effort that way. You know, I mean, they would have built the houses without us, but I wanted the kids to experience being part of building a house and finishing it and handing the keys over to the new person, the person who's taking it. And then come back the next year and have a little party at the house. It was really special. Yeah.
Claude, I just want to say, I don't know if my mic's on or not.
Yeah, no, we hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say thanks. I mean, I worked with Alan Ashball, and he got me started in Guatemala. I've been down there several times, worked with the Rotary Club of Chiquimula, met with the Rotary Club of Wulan, and always wondered how this all got started, because that's the key. We have great relationships down there, but it took somebody and to get it started years ago, and now we're just building on what you all have done. Just thanks.
Well, thanks, John. It really, it's interesting when you look back. Where did all this start? It starts with a pediatrician who started seeing cases of dengue, amongst others, his daughter, and was thinking, where the hell is this coming from? And then got thinking, does Rotary do something in dengue? Like, it's just crazy how relationships get started and how they multiply. And, you know, Edwin and I became good friends. And because of Edwin and I, we started multiple projects, which then rolled over into the Rotary Club of Chiquimula and others. And now, you know, Alan got so involved in the various water projects in Guatemala, it just multiplied. So you built this network of trust. And that network of trust is what allows these projects to just flourish. Anyway, thanks for that, John. I'm glad you're involved.
Claude, where did y'all stay? In again, these rural towns, they don't have hotels. Did you stay with host families?
So when we would go down, there was a small hotel just out on the edge of town, which had an armed guard, and that's where we stayed. So that, I think since then they now have a better hotel, but we stayed right in this little hotel. Yeah. And so that was interesting too, because the first time ever these kids would experience the toilet, they said, don't flush it and don't put your toilet paper in the toilet. You know, these things that we just, what? And so these 15-year-old kids would say, what the hell was that? You know, I can't flush my toilet. I can't put toilet paper in the toilet. These things that we take for granted. But anyway, that's where we stayed. And it was fun. It was fun. You know, roosters would wake us up at 4:30 in the morning, and it's just the way it was.
Okay. If anybody has any more questions.
Well, this is Martin to say thank you for, again, yeah. So this is Martin. Can you hear me?
You're cutting out a tiny bit, Martin.
Okay. I'm so glad this presentation has been recorded, because it is a great example of how clubs in our area collaborate and cooperate. And so we're lucky to have your presentation here on now a part of our permanent record at the Global Village Museum. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Martin. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad I was able to do this.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it
just want to
shows,
say a big
Claude,
thank you
the-
as the
you
director
did
of
a
the
fantastic-
museum.
Sophie, just a moment. Hold on, Sophie.
You
Yes.
did a fantastic job, Claude. And it shows that I think only Rotary, within Rotary, you can do these kind of things. I don't know of any other organization where this is possible, the way you
Yeah.
have done it.
Yeah, it's a multiplier effect where just that a little bit of initiative at one end can be leveraged to become something that otherwise couldn't happen, and it's really fantastic. There isn't a single one of these projects that the local Rotary Club or the local community, well, probably none of these projects they could have done, but with a little bit of local initiative and our collective leverage in terms of resources and encouragement, and things get accomplished. It's really wonderful. It's truly wonderful.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
And it needs people like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you so
People like all of
much.
us.
Wonderful work, and it's such a incredible organization. I really have admiration for Rotarians who make a difference in so many communities. So thank you for your time and everyone for doing Rotarian work. I was a Rotarian for a bit. I need to get back into it.
Yeah, me too, Gail.
Good.
Okay. So,
All
I
right.
mean, obviously I'll just pile on the thank yous, but thank you again, Claude, and thank you everyone who showed up tonight. And let's give Claude the applause he deserves. Good job, Claude. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure. Lots of it's a walk down memory lane, and real pleasure. So nice to see so many of the faces that I know on this call. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
take care.
Everyone have a
And
great
Claude,
night.
Bye
And
bye.
come visit us.
I will.
Come
I
see
will,
the
I promise.
exhibit, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Tell your friends, bye.